Tim Eisenhower, one of the managing directors at OnMarket, hosting the Fireside chat today, and I'm very excited to welcome Isaac, CEO of 1Question, for today's Fireside chat. Isaac, I think a lot of people are probably very familiar with seeing you on you're a media darling for the last 2 weeks. I have to say, radio interviews, TV interviews, you got something there that's really resonating, I think, with a lot of people. So welcome.
Thanks, Tim.
What I wanted to do was just quickly run through an agenda so everyone online can sort of get a bit of a feel for how we're going to do this. A lot of questions back and forth, but ideally, I think what we advertise the session as is a demo. So we'd really like to get into the origins of 1Question. Then show to a screen that you're going to share with sort of a demo of the product. Talk about ideally your future plans for the company and the product. I think that's really important. And then what I want to do is just flip it around a little bit, because I know a lot of people that have joined online, I've got quite a good audience now, are interested in potentially owning shares in the company. So I want to sort of take the discussion away a little bit from the product, but more into your company, your future plans for the company, your total addressable market, talk about the UK. I think it's sort of exciting stuff happening over there. And then ideally sort of wrap it up with a Q&A from those that are out there watching, any questions from them. It is being recorded, so we will share this sort of afterwards with everybody on the OnMarket website. But Isaac, you've got 3 kids, I've got 3 kids. Many people online have maybe got children. Screen times, I mean, outside of COVID, it is the other pandemic, isn't it? And not only in children, but even us adults. It's a big problem. And I'm interested in, as people online, sort of the origin of where it's come from and what you've built.
Thanks, Tim. And you're right. Screen time is a challenge, and with 3 girls at home, it's been a challenge for quite a while. I think the origin for 1Question really is my youngest daughter, and who is now 14. When we first started off with 1Question, she was 13. So back in May or June last year in lockdown, Lissy's 13 and never nailed the times tables, and that's been a point of frustration, because it's not that she couldn't do it, just that getting together and going through the times tables was almost impossible with her. Getting that engagement from her on that. But Alyssa, like the rest of my daughters, have become absolute Jedis in using their phones. I mean, the things are bloody glued to them, and we've tried everything at home, Tim. We tried no phones after a certain hour, phone contracts, parental control apps, and nothing really helped. But the origin of 1Question was an evening in the middle of lockdown when we're all in the lounge room, which is rare anyway with having 3 daughters. And although they're all sitting across from us, the girls could have been on different planets. They were just glued to their phones. And my wife turned to me, and in a moment of frustration, she just said, "Fix this." And I remember asking her, "How, babe? How do you want me to fix this?" And what she said next was brilliant. She said, "I want Alyssa to answer a times table question before she gets onto TikTok." And that was it. I said, "I love it. I don't care what the app costs. Buy it, download it, install it. I'm in." And 2 hours later, Anne came back and goes, "There is no app." And then that's what set us on our way.
Yeah, right. That's great. It's a problem solution. So take us through then just a demo on what it is, and I know you've done a lot of beta testing.
Yep.
Might be interesting to share some of the things that different, I guess, iterations that you've done and how you've got to where you're at now. And just take us through sort of a demo on, if you can share your screen and run us through how it works.
Yep. No worries. I'll do that. So let me bring up our the parent app, which is what most of you guys are going to be looking at. The child app, it really is just the app that fires off the questions more than anything else. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Great. So this is the 1Question parent app. Super simple to log into and get started. effectively, you get on, and the first three pages are a little bit about what it is the one question does. We talk about the ability for the dashboard for you to track your kids' progress, and we just also talk about the spaced repetition and the item response theory and what we've built so that you can actually constantly improve your learning. And from there, it's a matter of signing up. We'll sign up with an email, validate our email address, and then the first thing that you do is you set up your first child's profile. So we enter in our child's name, Max. We select what grade Max is in school. And then we start off with math. So, within math, you tell the app what topics you want Max to cover. Keep in mind that we started off taking the curriculum for Australia, the US, and the UK in math and converted that into questions or micro-learning moments for 1Q. And so you effectively say, okay, I want them to study decimals and fractions and multiplication. And then within year 7, there's also addition and subtraction, and we're good to go. The next step is for you to share with your child a download link so that your child can download the child app. And you can do that either through, if your child's next to you, through a simple QR code, or you can just go ahead and send them an SMS or an email or any number of different standard ways that you can share websites or URLs through the phone. Once that's done, your next main screen and your home screen becomes effectively your parental dashboard. And the dashboard shows you the different kids that you have on the app. So in this example, we've got 3, Max, Jasmine, and Mam. And it'll show you that Max's device is linked, but Man has uninstalled or figured out a way to remove 1Question child app from their device, which is good because you want to make sure that the devices are synced. And you can always drill down into the actual dashboard, and the dashboard will show you sort of warm and fuzzy stuff, like how many questions Max answered this week, how many times, what percentage you got right, how much time they spent answering questions. This is time that you've stolen from TikTok or from other unproductive apps. And we got a placeholder here for gamification, which is a large part of what we're doing next, so that the kids are actually able to really get engaged with the app. And then we start to move into more sort of hard numbers, your average speed to answer a question correctly, the number of questions that were answered in the different areas that you've chosen, and your mastery levels. These are AI-based classifications on the mastery level within each of the topics, and ultimately the learning velocity or the learning progress.
So and Isaac, is it just maths that you're doing, or other things you're running well, other curriculum?
Look, we started off with math. And we start off with math in years 1 to 6. We added year 7 about 2 weeks ago. We're adding year 8 and 9 this week. We're expecting to add 10, 11, 12 over the next month. But the beauty of 1Question is that the AI engine works just as well on math as it does on English, as it does on science, as it does on geography. My daughter Alyssa, where her first words were, "God, Dad, that's a dog act. Don't put this on my phone." And 2 months later, 2 weeks later, she's nailing her times tables, and now she's coming to me saying, "Hey, I've got a geography exam coming up. Can we load the geography questions?" Or, Atalia, my middle daughter, is studying for her driver's license test, so she wants to load up rules of the road. It's the type of content that we have out that we can put up there is absolutely limitless. And I'll circle back to that, Tim, because that really is what we're doing down the track.
Yeah, sure.
So that sort of takes us through the the demo. If we take a look at it on the child app, we've got the child's phone here, and they're going to click on Instagram, and this is what happens. They just get a simple question. If they get the question correct, excellent, and they're through to Instagram. I just want to show you what happens when they get the question incorrect. So 5 squared plus 3, that's clearly not 18. We got that wrong. And when we get that right, then we get the notification, we also get the gamification, and we're just straight through into the Instagram side of things. So it really is just that simple.
It is simple. Absolutely.
It's simple on the front end, but it's brilliantly and beautifully
Uh,
intelligent on the back end.
Interested in how you got to that, though, how you got to the one question part. And, you went through obviously different iterations. What were some of I know it's been a while in the making. What
Yeah,
have been some of the sort of negative comments or investor negative comments just in questioning sort of, what are your challenges ahead and how have you
yeah.
overcome that to deliver the sort of, what would deem to be a perfect product solution fit here?
Well, look, I mean, the history, admittedly, it was just initially just a COVID project at home, to put this out there. But within weeks, we had 50 of Alyssa's friends and parents on there, and shortly after, I realized that on average, we were delivering almost 27 questions per kid per day, uh, which is just unbelievable, uh, because the app just sits in the background. And so we went to AI Australia, and said, "Hey guys, we've got engagement. I mean, that's a holy grail of education. If you don't
Mm,
have engagement, you're not going to learn." So they're
mm,
engaged. Help us make the most of this. And in conjunction with AI Australia, we built a really super heavy duty back end, AI based engine that begins to understand the child's areas of strength and weakness. And as it does, it can accelerate them through the process or it can slow them down, all the while surfacing the type of data that you can see on the dashboard. So that's how we sort of started. And from there, obviously, we had a beta release, and we released it on Product Hunt, which is if you don't know Product Hunt, it's a massive community of techies where new businesses go to launch beta products, and it's kind of like Reddit, very very difficult to get into. We dropped it on there. We made it to the top 4 of the day, unheard of. We got a almost 300,000 people had a look at the One Question app within the period of a week. So
wow.
that's been our progression. You had a question around some of the negative comments that
Yeah.
I think, like all businesses, you get negative comments, but the one that sort of really stands out to me was a local VC that we had spoken to about 3 months ago, maybe even longer, 4 months ago. And they said, no, we love the space, we love the problem that you're trying to solve, and we think it's huge, but we see a problem with your business model and the product. So tension between the business model and product. Why? Because the parents are paying for it, and the kids are going to hate it, just like they hate parental control apps, and they delete it, and then the parents don't get value, and they're out. And I had tried back then to express to the VC that we're not a parental control app. We're not trying to limit what you're doing online or how you do it. Instead, what we're doing is making that screen time more productive.
Mm.
Clearly, it didn't resonate. Um, but Tim, I had a chance to present to a local high school on Friday of last week, and at the end of that presentation, I asked the year 11 girls what they thought of One Question and what would they use it for. And I wish the VC was in the room, because the engagement that we had was phenomenal. Everything from, Hamlet, please get Hamlet on there because I'm struggling to understand it and I'd love to get it in bite-sized pieces too. I'd love for our teacher to pop our next week's quiz on there, through to, yes, rules of the road, foreign languages. I mean, these girls were brilliant. So absolutely, there's always negative comments made, and sometimes down track you find out that they're right. But in this particular instance, we debunked the myth around product and business model tension.
Where's it go beyond that, though? You talk, I mean, can you just expand a little bit on the K to grade? We're talking about the K to 12, so kindergarten to year 12.
Yeah,
And I know there is demand, or that you've had demand for, including something for languages or whatever it might be for us
yeah.
adults, all the way
Well,
through
look,
to.
I mean, I think when Alyssa presses that TikTok button, right? The ice cream truck could be in the living room. She's not going to hear it, because she's completely and utterly engaged. The same is true for me. When I fire up, my OnMarket app, I want to know where we're at, and my wife could be talking to me. Or when I fire up Coinbase, or if I'm up Sydney Morning Herald, this is the core of One Question. We are all
Yeah.
completely engaged. It doesn't matter if it's a kid. It doesn't matter if it's an adult. What One Question does is it doesn't ask you to change your behavior so that you can learn something new or so that you can consolidate knowledge. It seamlessly just redirects a tiny portion of your unproductive screen time into productive learning, and it does it without you even feeling it.
Yeah.
And because of that, we say we're not, for kids. We're for adults. We're for anyone that wants to learn a foreign language or wants to learn how to code or wants to learn how to get more Twitter followers. We're for all of your corporates that want to be able to onboard the staff through OH&S or get compliance training or sales training. Anyone that actually needs to get that engagement moment, that's what One Question does.
Can you give us I know you've sort of only done a really soft launch, but you had 11,000 downloads in the first 4 weeks, which is a phenomenal number. And that's sort of primarily Australia and the UK.
Yeah.
Can you talk, before I flip over to sort of talking a bit more about the company, can you talk us through sort of your customer acquisition strategy? Can you keep up a run rate of sort of those big numbers in the next coming months, or how's that going to work for you?
Okay, well, our one of the biggest reasons why we've been able to acquire those type of customers so quickly, or those type of downloads so quickly, is because we're also part of the Google Accelerator program for user acquisition. What does that mean? That means that for 182 days, Google allocates a team that effectively manage our download marketing. And the aim of this goal is that at the end of this 182 days, we come out with effectively a sausage making factory. We know exactly what it costs us to acquire a paying customer in what country, at what dollar amount, and we know how deep that is. So to put it in perspective, I mean, these guys have been killing it. We started off our first download cost us $7.41 to acquire. Our last download on Monday cost us $2.14 to acquire. And so we are going through the process now of optimizing for the open rates, optimizing for syncing the apps, optimizing for paying customers.
And the cost of One Question is $3 a month in Australia.
That's correct.
Per user, per child.
Yes, that's right. But I mean, it's something that we need to keep in mind. We don't know where it's going to end up. We're still on that price discovery. So, for example, we charge $2.99 Aussie in Australia. We charge $2.99 US in the US. We charge £2.99 in the UK, and the UK is our biggest market. Our cost base is the same, so it's a price discovery journey for us.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Can I flip over just to wary of time? Can I flip over quickly just to the company side of it? So founders are very good, and this is sort of dedicated questions for the OnMarket audience. Founders are very good, as we know, at talking about their product. Some cases they're not as good at talking about their company. I know you are, because you're well versed on that. What we've seen from an OnMarket perspective is you're right up there with the most, let's say, investor engagement and media engagement for a business that we brought to market. I think since day one, and we've done over 180 transactions. What our guys like, what the OnMarket audience loves, is they love innovation. So the tick there. They love disruption. I think it's more a gap in the market than disruption. You've got a problem solution fit there. They love a SaaS subscription model, which applies itself in terms of what you're talking about then, the global scalability of this, where you can flick on a button in the UK or the US or Argentina or South Africa, wherever it may be, really without any more costs. I mean, that's a fantastic business model. And what you've taken us through is that. I'm interested in you talking a little bit further about the company, about your total addressable market. You talked about the UK. Funnily enough, I think it might have only been the UK's come about because of a Daily Mail article and nothing more. You've done nothing more over there yet.
No.
Here it is, sort of, it's a problem everyone knows. It's a global problem. There isn't really a solution. What you've done is find some part of a solution, which I think is there's a first mover advantage here. Can you talk a little bit about that scalability globally, where you're heading, what other markets look like? We know population-wise, we're only a small country over here with 25 million, and you look at the US with with mobile phone sort of traction across the board everywhere. Where's it heading? What can we look at?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of what we're doing is, first we're going to nail the kid space, and we're going to nail the kid space initially in that K to 12, and primarily to focus on the curriculum. So things like rules of the road that's been asked for, yeah, that is a great use case, and we'll load that, but not before we complete the English, the science, the math, and not before we complete K through 12. Because this is our proof of concept. This is where we learn about how to apply to a much larger market. Now, if I'm looking at today's market, the AU, US, and UK, we've got almost 48 million students just in years K to 12, right?
Yeah.
And when we look at it globally, there are 1.5 billion school-age kids. Now, not all of them have access to Wi-Fi or to the internet or to a phone, but trust me, a large enough number of them do. So $2.99 a month, even that on its own is a massive market. And to your point, Tim, of being global and being able to flip on switches, well, we did. So on Monday we started to optimize for sending a request link from the child, but at the same time we also turned on Canada and New Zealand, and it was literally as simple as moving across those buttons.
Sure.
So for the scalability of this thing is massive, and we've built it, designed it from the ground up in conjunction with Google on the Google Cloud platform, with our AI guys and our dev guys, to ensure that the backend's completely elastic and we're able to scale as needed.
Okay. So before we throw to questions, I just want to sort of just close off on one thing. On-market investors, as I said, like those sort of companies, like a company like yours. You're an equity crowdfunding raise. That means that it's unlisted, it's not liquid. So from an investor's standpoint, the key point, or one of the key points they want to know is, how long will you take my money for? How long till I see a return? How long till you IPO, or is there M&A activity here where you're going to get bought out by one of the big guys? Just enlighten us a little bit there. Ken, please.
Look, we have both as investors, guys that are on the buy side of ed tech businesses, represent other ed tech companies that are looking to aggregate. And we've already had interest from the tutoring platforms. And you can imagine tutors being able to create custom questions for their students in conjunction with the curriculum. I mean, the ability for them to deliver a faster rate of learning and to differentiate themselves in the market's huge. So we have interest in the business now, but it is just way too early for us to go out there and realize the type of value that we believe is on the table. Instead, yes, we are going to continue to work through. We've got 4 milestones internally before our next raise. We want to be able to release the iOS version. We want to be able to release the tutor interface. We want to be able to demonstrate that our AI engine can take any digital course or any educational video, and the AI will automatically convert it into microlearning curriculum, because that's what's going to give us the ability to appeal not to the 1.5 billion students, but to the 4.5 billion adults that always need to learn and are always short on that engagement time.
Okay. Last question before I throw to a Q&A. It's your equity crowdfunding offers live on market at the moment. You've raised 1.5 million out of a possible 2. Given it's equity crowdfunding, it's fixed at 2. We can't take overs on that. So we've got about $500,000 left. Where is the money going to be spent? Say we get to $2 million. We're open till, I think it's a week or so. We expect to hit the $2 million target. Where will the 2 mil be spent in the company?
Yeah, so in the main, it's in achieving those 4 milestones that I just spoke about. From a dev and a tech perspective, it's that iOS, it's the AI translator, it's the tutoring interface, and it's the ability to demonstrate that actually 1Question, we all see it today as on the phone, an app. But really, one question is the engine that we have in the back. So we want to be able to demonstrate that one question works on browsers. And from there, we want to be able to demonstrate that it works on smart TVs and on gaming consoles as well. So from a dev perspective, and beefing up the dev team, that's a large part of where those dollars are. The other part is going into that sausage making factory. I mean, with Google, we have the ability to put the foot down on the gas and get those users and be able to prove out that product market fit. So, we lay it out in the offer document in terms of where the dollars are going, but from a sort of conceptual basis, it's about hitting technical milestones and upskilling the team on the marketing side.
Okay. Good stuff. I'm throwing to a few questions. Bit coming in the chat. I think you might be able to see that as well.
Oh, okay.
Question from Robert, which is probably a question that I would ask as well, which I haven't asked. IP protection, like anything, when you got a good idea, Isaac, how do you protect it from the big guys taking it over? What can you run us through that?
Yeah. Look, in today's environment where we are today, there is very little that we can protect from an IP perspective on one question. And the little that we probably can protect, in my experience, going through and doing a patent on software, just basically publishes the map of how you do things, and someone just tweaks it a little bit. So instead, we're trying to focus on creating a moat around the business, not from necessarily just a pure IP perspective. But the moment people start to create their own custom questions, tutors creating custom questions, that becomes incredibly sticky. The moment that you've got subject matter experts who created a course that they're monetizing on YouTube or monetizing on Coursera or Udemy, decide to share that course content with one question and now engage into a rev share agreement with us, that is a moat. On Monday, and we were on the front page of the Australian technology sector, we announced that we've signed a memorandum of understanding on a deal between One Question and a phone manufacturer for the phone manufacturers to pre-install One Question on their phones. Why? Because it gives the manufacturer a point of difference in the retail side. And for us, it gives us a really deep distribution. It's something that we can replicate globally. So once we own that real estate space, that's ours.
Yeah, it embeds you in that production.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't get that out. There's a question here from Fred, just saying, can anyone be linked to One Question? I imagine that's a yes, provided you download the app.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so today we've got the parent app and the child app, and so you can be grandpa and have your child link. You don't have to be in the same country, in the same city, anywhere in the world, and anyone can do it. As we roll out One Question for adults, then the parent app will also function as your own app to be able to ask yourself questions. So there's no need for two apps in an adult environment.
Fred also asked us about your time frame for your investment milestones. Do you want to talk through sort of where we're at now? You're raising money now and then eventually raising money at the end of the year. Where do you think, I can ask this question from my side. In 12 months' time, Isaac, where will you be?
Look, in 12 months' time, we would have either completed or be very close to completing our sort of Series A raise. And that raise will likely be in the US. And that raise will probably be somewhere between sort of $8 and $10 million. And that raise, we will come to that raise with a team that has executed on a crowdfunding campaign in Australia, and a team that understands all of the data about acquiring investors and getting them in, and take that to the States along with being able to achieve those 4 milestones. So that iOS piece, the translator out of alpha and into beta, the tutoring program out of alpha and into beta, and the demonstration of the browser is on our roadmap to complete in 12 months' time. And if you speak to any of my current investors, they would tell you, I hope they'd be able to tell you, that we have delivered on every milestone that we've put to date.
Yeah. Okay. Question from Mark. I think it's the last question we've got there. EdTech as you know, many big players.
Yes.
What makes you sort of confident that you can be a big player in that space as well? Other than all the stuff we've already talked about, but maybe just a bit of a wrap up before we close down, sort of a concluding comment on that.
Well, I think because one question is agnostic about our channel. So when I look at one question, I said there are a lot of guys that may compete with us, may want to compete with us. How do we make them partners? How can we add value to a potential competitor by creating network effects that they couldn't get if they just competed with us directly? And a great example of that are your guys like Seek or guys like Pearson's or guys that have these massive online courses. And being able to work within one question gives them exposure into the rest of the world. What are they studying? What are they interested in? What's the engagement rate? And that informs their product decisions. But there are also network effects between us.
Good answer. I like that. So just thank you once again for your time. And to everyone out there who's watching, we do have it open on market. It is open for a little bit more time, but I think what just to explain sort of the how it closes, how an equity crowdfunding offer closes. One of two things need to happen. Either the company reaches their target maximum, which in this case is $2 million, or the closing date arrives. So whatever comes first. The closing date for 1Question is, I think it's Thursday, June 17, so 2 weeks from today. I don't expect, from our experience, that it's going to last that long. So in this instance, the closing date would be the date when we hit that $2 million target. We're $500,000 away at the moment. Given the sort of interest that we've had over the last little while, I expect that to sort of come about reasonably quickly, potentially over the weekend or maybe early next week. We'll wait and see. That's sort of my way of saying, listen, if you do want shares in 1Question, you'd be jumping in earlier rather than later. If you're holding out for sort of June 17 or June 16, that date may not arrive. So there's a lot of on market people know sort of you can miss out, and in this case, that might be the case. Don't know. Wait and see. But Isaac, thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Really interesting. As I said, we love innovation, we love disruption, we love scalability, we love that SaaS sort of revenue model, and we love, I think, what one thing is, we love a great problem solution fit. You've got that, and we're excited to, as you know, be working with you and bringing about your fundraising success.
Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure so far, and I look forward to more.